What is going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a fantastic Friday night. It is the end of the day here. We spent the entire day at the pool. If you guys haven't noticed, I've caught a good bit of sun already, starting this summer off right. But anyways, what's on the agenda? We're going to be talking about Twilight Masquerade. We're going to be talking about this Greninja SIR. We're going to be talking about the Perrin, and we're going to be talking about the Carmine. And these three cards really creating a ton of value for the set. For me, is it a reason to want to buy into the set heavily and open it heavily? No, it's not. And although there are some cards, the Lana Zade especially, which I think is not on most people's radar, but I just really like that card, mainly because of the Corphish. But I'm not huge on waifu. I'm not huge on these trainer character rares. I've never been huge on them. I think it's cool. I like what Pokemon's doing. I like how the Perrin connects the perspective of the photographer with the Hisuian Growlithe. I think that's really cool. And I think the Perrin specifically is going to appeal to a lot of collectors that are into photography. And I think a lot of hardcore collectors are somewhat into photography. If you enjoy your cards and you have an Instagram, or you just like doing photo ops or photo shoots, that's one way a lot of us collectors get to enjoy our cards, is get them out in the sun or go on a trip and take a photo with a background. I know I've been trying to get more Instagram photos out, and I see other profiles and they definitely use professional cameras for their photos. So I think that the Perrin card is going to appeal to a lot of photographer people, and it's obvious that it is a very popular card. The Greninja is a very popular card. Okay, Twilight Masquerade officially released in the US a couple days ago, but people have been opening it, talking about it for weeks now. The Greninja SIR is the Greninja EX, has popped up onto the market. It is doing very well, and now we're starting to see several of the copies pop up. I think the more of these copies flood the market, that price is going to come down. There's people saying that the card is exploding right now. I don't really think it's right now. It might be exploding short term, but I think like all of the sets, when they release, these cards come out, they're at all-time highs, and then it's kind of a race to the bottom, or at least a race to a point where it reaches kind of a price floor and then rises back up. And I think right now paying $500, upwards, maybe even $600. There's an auction there's several auctions, but one that's not completed yet. But we know that the card is now a $500 PSA 10 card. Will that last? Probably not. Should you be paying those kind of premiums for this card? In my opinion, no. Is it a big chase card? Is it one of the bigger chase cards we've had in a little bit? Yeah, sure. One could argue that. For me, I think a lot of people like the busy art style that's on the Greninja EX. But for me, it just doesn't do it. There's so much going on in that Greninja card that it takes away from the aesthetic of the Pokemon itself. I'm also not a big fan of the Terra Crowns. So while the card, I'll probably buy one at some point, probably, maybe. If it stays at these prices, absolutely not. I will not be buying a card that modern from a Pokemon that I'm not crazy about. I do like Greninja. Greninja has grown on me a lot since coming back into the hobby. I wasn't really a fan of it. Opening celebrations and seeing the shiny Greninja, I really wasn't that big of a fan of it. Didn't see the hype behind it, but I knew people really liked that Greninja promo, and I get it. That Greninja promo is actually awesome. Really highlights the Pokemon itself, whereas this card has a lot going on. And you do see the throwing star in the largest section of the card. There's a throwing star. It really creates a cool perspective. He's pretty tough looking, but at the same time, there's just a lot going on with that card. So I'm not the biggest fan of it. Thank you for finding these. I was looking to wear my Harry Potter style glasses today. Maybe we'll change these mid-video. At least we found them. I was freaking out that I lost these. Here we go, Harry Potter style. Anyways, no, I can't wear these because they actually cast a shadow onto my face. Anyways, the Greninja is a fabulous card. Will it stay at that price? I don't think so. The Carmine, very waifu-esque Carmine card, okay? I think that card is going to stay up there because people are very into waifu. That has stayed a trending thing. So I think the Carmine is going to stay up there. But these three cards are, you know, several $100s each in PSA 10 right now, creating over $1,000 of value in just these SIRs in PSA 10, which makes it kind of a reasonable box to be buying into. Just off of that, there's value there. I don't know if you really like the set, then that's another big plus. If you like all of the other cards and the illustrations in the set, that's another big plus. If you like the mask themed cards, that's another big plus. Doesn't really do it for me. I'm just going to be honest and put my honest opinion out there. I know that it's a hot set. I know a lot of people love this set right now. And usually when things are relevant, when they are the newest trending thing, they're hot, and then the things die down a little bit. But who knows? That might not happen with Twilight Masquerade. I know Temporal Forces had a lot of hype behind it as well. A lot of those card prices have stayed pretty high up there. But I think the premiums that these couple of SIRs are commanding are pretty nuts right now. And I'll be watching those auctions. Tomorrow we might do a mail day video, or we might do an auction video. There have been some really big auctions that I want to talk about, and some large private sales that have been going down that people have let me know about. And I'd like to talk about those. Pretty crazy stuff. And also some good news in terms of where I think the hobby is headed with some of these recent vintage card sales. And then we're going to be looking at modern sales. I haven't talked about that yet. I have not talked about auction prices for modern cards right now. I'm probably going to go over some cards that I really, really like and see where they're trending at, and do that for a topic tomorrow. And maybe we'll look at Scarlet Violet SIRs as well as Sword and Shield alt arts that I really like, checking in on prices of those. But yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. In terms of, again, back to Twilight Masquerade, I really like the set. I think that it has a lot of value. Am I a huge fan of the chase card for the Greninja? No, I'm not a huge fan of the chase card. I wish I was as hype about it and could understand the hype behind some of these cards, but that's okay. I can still appreciate the card. I know that it's a crazy looking artwork. I know that Pokemon is constantly cranking out these new phenomenal artworks that a lot of other people are going to get behind. I'm more interested to see where these last couple of sets land. I think a lot of people right now are also going to be saving up and waiting probably for the Team Rocket set that we have coming on, the glory of Team Rocket. I think people are going to be saving aside for that set for a while. But in terms of these Scarlet Violet sets, Paradox Rift to me is looking a lot better than Twilight Masquerade and Temporal, but I feel like Twilight Masquerade and Temporal have a lot of the hype and a lot of the value there right now. I feel like people really, really like those sets. They like these futuristic-esque Pokemon, and if down the road people want to get back into these sets and they still miss them and they enjoyed opening during this time, then those could be very, very popular sets. But right now, I'm just looking at the market prices for these SIRs. The set just did officially release in the US, so I fully expect that these English copies in PSA 10 are going to be fetching a huge premium, whereas the raw copies, the off-center raw copies, are probably going to stay around the $170 to $200 mark, may drop below that. This is definitely not our typical set. We don't normally get 3 SIRs in a set like this that are really high value SIRs. I mean, even Paldean Fates, you know, you had the Charizard, that was a couple $100 and a 10. The Mew, couple $100. Gardevoir hitting just over 100. You know, you have a nice blend, but usually we don't have sets where we have multiple cards that are very, very expensive in that set, which makes the value appeal to, you know, sealed collectors, investors, people that want to just buy booster boxes, which for me, I think would be more appropriate for this set. I'm not really trying to go after all the cards in this set. I'm almost pretty much done binding sets. I've pretty much given up on that. I wish I could continue with it, but binders are expensive. Buying all the singles adds up a lot, and it just keeps me from chasing cards that I really, really want. Whereas buying the sealed boxes, 1, I can open them down the road for content, have fun with it. But 2, I know that it's a safe bet in terms of these things probably holding up in value if we're buying them right off the jump right now. Twilight Masquerade is just under 570. It's like 565 from P Football Pete. So that's like the best price I think on eBay right now. And I think moving forward, these Scarlet Violet sets might stay that way. Maybe, in my opinion, Scarlet Violet Base is probably the last set that we have that was like a super reasonably priced Scarlet Violet set. And they printed a crap load of Scarlet Violet Base. I think Scarlet Violet Base is now around like 540. It was a long time it sat at the 500, 520 mark. Might even be beyond 540 at this point. But it's looking like all of these Scarlet Violet sets now are pretty much baseline going to be 570 out the gate. No cheaper than that. That may be how it is moving forward in Pokemon. We might be looking at $600 here with the next generation and the next set. You know, who knows, $600 a case might become the new norm for bottom dollar case prices. So we might be saying goodbye to these cheaper case prices for good from here. So yeah, I think Twilight Masquerade, it might be one of those situations where it's better to buy into the sealed product before waiting for prices to change or fluctuate or for there to be some kind of reprint. I'm not sure that's going to make a difference in terms of the bottom dollar price. I kind of wish that these sets were releasing at $500 or just over $500 a case, but that's just not how it is right now. Right now, the cheapest price for a set that is just released is $570 or $565. Maybe we see Twilight Masquerade come down a little bit. I have no idea how they're printing these sets. I don't know if they're maybe printing slightly less of them to create more artificial demand. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know how they're doing this. I'm a little shocked that these brand new Scarlet Violet sets are sitting at 570. I really thought that this era, because in the beginning was so much base, and Paldea Evolved and Obsidian Flames, in the beginning it felt like, okay, these sets are going to come out, they're going to release, they're going to print a ton of it. The price for cases and boxes is going to drop a good bit. But right now, I feel like the hobby's picked up a ton of momentum and people are really jumping on the Scarlet Violet bandwagon, and we are seeing a lot of interest in these later sets, particularly Twilight Masquerade. Like I said, I don't think we've had a single set in this entire Scarlet Violet era that has had bangers like this. I mean, that has had, you know, high priced cards like this. I don't think we've had one yet. So really, really interesting. Can't wait to see where it goes. Also hoping that these cards come down in price because it just doesn't seem sustainable. These prices are nuts. I guess this is going back to the simple fact that, which something that I'm still learning now, which is somehow that some people are saying that Scarlet Violet has harsher pull rates than Sword and Shield. I am shocked to believe that. That's very hard for me to believe. But if that's the case, then even more reason for SIRs and boxes to maybe rise in value. Things are harder to obtain. It's harder to get the cards that we're going for in these sets. And then additionally, the gem rate percentage on a lot of these cards coming out. And maybe it's more towards the illustrations, but I believe the SIRs are really tough to grade for some of these Scarlet Violet cards as well, and that's what's making their value so high. Maybe that's the case with the Greninja. I know I've looked at a couple of listings on eBay for the Greninja, and I'm seeing a lot of off-center cards. I think those people, and a lot of those are raw listings. Obviously, very few people have gotten that card graded already. In fact, I believe I saw the title said the first public auction for this card in PSA 10. So I think we're just now starting to see this card kind of flood the market. And I'm seeing a lot of mostly raw cards that are off center that are starting the bidding. So I think that will bring the price down as people are less likely to pay major premiums on the raw card. Whereas the PSA 10 might fetch that premium to start with because people just want to go ahead and get that card in a PSA 10. But I find it really, really hard from $500 to build value from a card that just came out at $500 for a PSA 10. I find it really, really hard to like collect sustainably and find value there from that card. Same thing with the Perrin, same thing with the Carmine. I just don't see how people could buy these cards for $400 or $500 and see that there's value to accrue on these cards. Yeah. I'm just gonna keep it at that. That's my opinion on it. Obviously, the cards are doing really well. Twilight Masquerade is gonna do really, really well down the road, probably because of these cards. Even if the prices come down on them, they're always gonna be cards that are probably in high demand that people remember and were highly sought after. So yeah, that's kind of my little opinion on Twilight Masquerade. Will I be buying cases of it in booster boxes? Yeah, definitely. I'll probably get at least 1 or 2 cases, start from there. I'd like to get more Paradox Rift. But it's weird. It's like, even though I think Paradox Rift is just like Paldea, I'm starting to feel like Paradox Rift has a lot of value too, just like Paldea, even though it has that dope Magikarp. But I feel like Paradox Rift makes more sense at the price point right now than Temporal or Twilight Masquerade. I did go heavy into Temporal. Again, this was a choice that I was drawn to because of a lot of the demand for that product, a lot of the hype around that product, and the fact that it's a Gengar set, kind of. My favorite card in the set really is a full art. It's a full art Gengar. The Morty's Conviction is doing really well in that set. But yeah, I feel the same way about Twilight Masquerade, even though it's not fully for me. I think that you would probably be smart to buy into this set. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Twilight Masquerade. Also, happy late release day. If you guys are opening Twilight Masquerade, let us know what you are getting in the comments below. Anyways, peace out, guys.